Desire Doue, Hugo Ekitike, Myles Lewis-Skelly. These were the Wonder Kids that exploded in 24-25. But who are the Wonder Kids that are going to take 25-26 by storm? Today, I run through my top 10 to watch out for next season. The only rule being they have to be 23 or under. Let's get into it. Right, first up, it is time to invest in Arda Guler stocks now. The guy signed back in 2023 from Fenerbahce for around 20 million euros, but he actually couldn't really play up until January 2024. He scored 6 goals in his first 12 games, and big things were expected of him last season. But it just didn't materialise for him. Carlo Ancelotti simply did not favour him. He played just under 1,250 league minutes. That was only 30 minutes more than Dani Ceballos, and he only started one Champions League game. However, he did use his time on the pitch incredibly effectively. 6 goals and 11 assists in 49 games, which makes me think that this season under Xabi Alonso, who has already shown that he's going to really utilise him in the centre of that midfield, I think he could absolutely explode. This summer, obviously, Carlo Ancelotti left Real Madrid and Luka Modric did too, and Arda Guler feels like his natural heir apparent in that midfield in terms of his ability to pick a pass, in terms of his ability to set the rhythm of a game. And I think Xabi Alonso is going to really utilise the legs of Valverde and Bellingham, the physicality of Tchouaméni behind him, dropping into former back three as well, and Arda Guler is going to be given the keys to get this attack going, with Brahim Diaz taking some minutes off him late in games. And I back him to be able to use those keys really effectively. Last season he was at 5.7 shot creating actions per 90, so the shot or the pass before the shot per 90. For context, Lamine Yamal, a player we've never seen come out at this level, at this age, was at 5.9. Also, Arda Guler was at 0.56 expected goals and assists per 90. So every 2 games, you'd expect him to get a goal or an assist. For context, Luka Modric was never above 0.46 in his final 8 seasons at the Bernabeu. Xabi Alonso got phenomenal numbers out of his key attacking weapons at Bayer Leverkusen, whether it was Florian Wirtz, now of Liverpool, whether it was Jeremy Frimpong, now of Liverpool, or Alex Grimaldo, and I really do think Arda Guler could explode next season. Before I go any further with this video, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button, people. Love ya. Next up, I want to talk about Charalampos Koustalas. Now, this is a player Brighton have invested £29.8 million in this summer from Olympiacos. Now, this is notable for a couple of reasons. A, he's only 18, but there are some amazing raw ingredients there. He's 6'1", he's powerfully built, he's great in the air, he can drop deep, he can lead the line as well. But it's such a massive fee for the Greek Super League as well. The previous record, they've more than doubled, which was when Daniel Podence joined Wolves, and I am backing him to be a much, much bigger success than Podence was. In 23-24, so the season before last, he was playing in the UEFA Youth League for Olympiacos. Now, Olympiacos beat Inter Milan in that competition. They beat Milan in that competition. They beat Bayern in that competition, and they won the entire thing. At the start of last season, he was still with the under-19 side. He scored 5 goals in 2 games, and they thought, we've seen enough. We need to get this guy in the senior squad. Now, he is raw. He's only ever played 35 senior games for Olympiacos, but he got 7 goals and 2 assists in those games. And look at Brighton's reputation for scouting. Alexis McAllister, Cucurella, Baleba, Minter, the list goes on, and I think they've had another excellent summer with De Kuyper arriving, Coppola from Serie A as well. Who else have they brought in? Buscagli, the PSV centre-back with an amazing passing record from the back. I feel Brighton have had a really underrated window, and I think Koustalas is the next big thing. Next up, let's talk about Matias Soule, people, and I've got 3 words for you: Gian Piero Gasperini. Now, I put out this tweet that I'll put up on the screen earlier this week, and let's have a look at Gasperini's record for improving players. So in their final season pre-Gasperini versus their first season under Gasperini, Papu Gomez 7 goals to 16, Josip Ilicic 6 goals to 15, Duvan Zapata 11 goals to 28, Luis Muriel 9 to 19, Lookman 8 to 15, Scamacca 8 to 19, Retegui 9 to 28, and the advantage for Soule here is he's already had a year at Roma to adapt before Gasperini's arrival, and I think he could really take off. So he signed from Juventus last summer for around 20 million euros, and he'd spent the previous year on loan at Frosinone, who eventually got relegated. They didn't have a great side by any means, but despite that, Matias Soule managed to complete the third amount of dribbles in the entirety of Europe, a figure only topped by Mohamed Kudus in that first year that he was at West Ham, and Savio. Matias Soule arrived last summer at Roma, and he had a great season, I think it's fair to say, but it did have some ups and downs, so he was a central piece of the project, but not that important. He was actually 9th for league minutes. He still contributed 5 goals and 5 assists in the league, but there were some real ups and downs throughout the season. Daniele De Rossi used him a lot at the start of the season, then even Juric arrived, and even at the start of Claudio Ranieri, he wasn't actually used that much, but he finished the season like an absolute train. He got 6 goals and assists in his final 7 league games for Roma that season, and Roma oversaw an amazing end to the season, or Ranieri did at Roma, I should say. They only lost 1 game from the 16th of December onwards to the end of the season. They picked up more points from the middle of December than any other side. Now Ranieri's gone upstairs, Gasparini's arrived, a manager renowned for juicing the numbers of his attacking players, and I expect Matias Soule, Dovbyk, Dybala to really thrive. Next up, I want to talk about Malik Tillman. Now, obviously, losing Florian Wirtz is a huge, colossal blow for not only Bayer Leverkusen, but German football as a whole. But I do think Tillman has something in him to really try and carry that mantle. Look, he came through at Bayern Munich, but it was really at Rangers in 22-23 that he really started to shine. He won Young Player of the Year award there. He also was included in the Scottish Premiership Team of the Season. He spent the last 2 seasons at PSV and he's really shone. 9 goals and 14 assists in his first season as PSV won the league. He then backed that up with 16 goals and 5 assists as PSV won the league again with that Ajax collapse late on the final day, and this time he was named in the Eredivisie Team of the Season too. He's nominally a central midfielder, but he can play further forward in the 10-2, and I would be surprised if that's not where Erik ten Hag chose to use him next season, given his goal threat. 16 goals last season. There's only 5 players that scored more goals than him in the Eredivisie. He's very, very effective at getting his shots on target, and he's a very wise dribbler too. He completed 58% of his take-ons last season. In Europe's top 5 leagues, guess how many players completed more dribbles than him at a higher percentage? Absolutely no one. Absolutely no one. When this guy chooses to dribble, he normally beats his man. He is the Morgan Rogers, let's say, of the US men's national team. Look, any side that loses Wirtz, Frimpong, Tar in one summer is gonna have a period of adaptation, but I do think 35 million euros for a player of this quality is an absolute steal. Next up, let's head over to London and talk about Estevao, the man that Chelsea fans are very, very excited about. So last summer they signed him for 34 million euros, initially up front, with 23 million euros in performance-related add-ons. Now at that stage, he played 46 professional games. He hadn't even turned 18 at this stage and scored 15 goals. Now Chelsea's record in terms of signing South American talent under Clear Lake Capital, well, it hasn't been great, I think it's fair to say, in terms of impact at Chelsea so far, at least. Andre Santos, Kendry Paez, David Washington, none of them had made a massive impact, but I do think Estevao is going to be different. 27 goals and 15 assists in 83 games for Palmeiras for a player that turned 18 in April is quite frankly ridiculous. It's very, very exciting, and you watch him play, he's very two-footed, he's got a great appreciation of space, he seems to make very wise decisions, let's say, and his finishing for someone so young is really, really mature. I would caveat this with the signs in the Club World Cup was he maybe needed a little bit longer, and I don't think he's going to be used immediately, but the fact they let Noni Madueke go to Arsenal suggests to me that although Cole Palmer has this new role on the right-hand side, they do see Estevao getting serious minutes throughout the season. I don't think he's initially going to go off like a rocket, but I could see by November, December, Estevao starting to contribute in games. My other caveat is that this is probably not the best time to say this, given the standard of Brazilian teams in the Club World Cup and how well they did. But last year, in 2024, their team of the season included Vitor Reis, who made 4 appearances for Man City after signing in January, and Alex Telles, who struggled massively at Man United. The year before, Luis Suarez, who is a real spent force, at least physically, was in the team of the season at Gremio. He looks absolutely exceptional. I think he will contribute at some stage this campaign, but please bear in mind that Vinicius Junior scored 15 goals in his first 3 seasons at Real Madrid. Let's everyone just temper expectations slightly. Let's head up north and talk about Oscar Bobb then. Now, Oscar Bobb is 22 years old. How has that come about? That has really crept up really fast. But he's only ever played 32 professional games. Last year, after breaking his leg in August, he could only play 6. And this summer did feel like a crossroads for Oscar Bobb. Would him and James McAtee be given the opportunities at Man City that they needed to become the players they look to be? And it looks like James McAtee's time at Man City will soon be over. Oscar Bobb isn't going anywhere by the looks of things, and I think it's time for him to step up and deliver, and I think he will. Let's look at the only campaign he was able to play regularly. That was 23-24. In that, he made 26 appearances, he scored twice and got 2 assists. And you might be saying, is that anything to write home about? Of course, one of those goals was that massive goal against Newcastle. But if you look under the bonnet, there are things to be excited about. That year, he created 2.6 chances per 90. Anything above 2.5 is absolutely exceptional. And yes, a lot of that is against tired defences coming on late in games, but you've still got to manage to beat a man. You've still got to see the pass. You've still got to execute under pressure. And he was able to do that. He also completed 61% of his take-ons. Now, I always think for any attacker, particularly a young one, being able to beat a man, particularly in the Premier League, absolutely vital when you're coming up against the standard of defender that you'll be facing. Oscar Bobb can do both. He can create and he can dribble. Look, there is a lot of competition in this Man City squad. He's got to get past Foden, he's got to get past Cherki, he's got to get past Savio and Doku too, but Savio played a lot of his minutes on the left-hand side last year. Majority on the right, but a lot on the left. Doku was used almost exclusively off the left last year. And I think Cherki and Foden, with Kevin De Bruyne having departed, still the second most creative player in Europe's top 5 leagues last season, behind Cherki in terms of expected assists per 90. Cherki and Foden are going to have to get on the ball and make things happen behind Haaland. I think there's an opportunity for Oscar Bobb to really establish himself on that right-hand side and let Reinders and Rodri provide the platform behind Cherki or Foden, maybe even both in certain games, to really let loose for this Man City side. I think Oscar Bobb is due a big season, and I think he'll do it. Next up, I want to talk about Luka Vuskovic, who joined Spurs permanently this summer. Now, he spent last season on loan at Westerlo in the Belgian top flight, where he was absolutely phenomenal. He scored a number of goals. He ranked in the top 1% of centre-backs in Europe for shots, top 5% for progressive passes. You know when a player just looks far too good for their league. That was Vuskovic at 18 years old at 6'4". I wanted him to go out on loan this year, ideally to my club Sunderland. I wanted to play him alongside Dan Ballard. Unfortunately now, I don't think that's likely to happen. He absolutely excelled in a pre-season friendly against Reading at the weekend alongside Mickey van der Ven. Dragason's still injured, so he's technically still 3rd or 4th choice behind Romero, who doesn't look like he's going to leave, Van der Ven, and probably on a par with Kevin Danso. I wanted this to happen. I don't think it is, but hopefully he gets some minutes this season, and if so, I think he could really explode. If your club is looking for a midfielder this summer, tell them to look no further than Javi Guerra. The guy has done 2 very, very impressive seasons at Valencia now. 22-year-old Spanish midfielder can do a little bit of everything. So impressive last year. Valencia were actually in real trouble. They were 19th on Christmas Eve before Carlos Corberán took over, eventually finished 12th, and Javi Guerra was a crucial part of that. He ranked 6th for league minutes in Valencia's squad last season, and he contributed defensively, 2.4 defensive actions per 90, and he can carry the ball really effectively, 49 progressive carries last season. For context, Kobbie Mainoo was in the low 20s, Manuel Ugarte was at 16. This guy can do a little bit of everything, and I think I know where you guys think I'm going with this, and yes, I think he'd be perfect for Man United to play alongside Manuel Ugarte, to play alongside Casemiro, Mainoo, whoever you want there. He's a dynamic all-round package, and I think he'd be perfect for Man United. He only turned 22 last week, but last season he counted for 21 and under, and he ranked in the top 5 under 21 or 21-year-old midfielders in Europe for percentage of passes forward. Do you know who was number 1 in that list? Adam Wharton. Man United, need I say more? Bring in Javi Guerra. If your club is in need of a right back, look no further than Guela Doue, who plays for Strasbourg. Now, they had a brilliant season last year. They were in touching distance of the Champions League with the youngest squad in Europe's top 5 leagues, and he was absolutely central to that. He completed over 60% of his tackles. He completed over 60% of his aerial duels. He completed over 60% of his take-ons. A real triple threat. And for a club that don't sell that highly at the moment, Strasbourg, their record sale was Habib Diarra to Sunderland earlier this summer. I think he's a really achievable option for a club in need of a right back. Maybe someone like Man City should have a look at him if they can't land Tino Livramento. Let's see what happens. And finally, let's talk about a player that I've already mentioned just now, Habib Diarra. He's signed for Sunderland, 21-year-old Senegalese midfielder. He has been starting regularly for Strasbourg for the last 3 seasons, central to their rise from the lower mid-table up to 7th, as I already mentioned, with Doue, and I am very, very excited about this signing. Diarra was absolutely central to it. He started 27 of 34 league games. He contributed 9 league goals. That's as many as Malik Fofana, who's been linked with a move away from Lyon all summer. It's the same as Elise Benseguir, Monaco's wonder kid, who I think will really step up and be probably the wonder kid to watch next year in Ligue 1, with Ryan Cherki having already departed. And Diarra is really creative in central midfield. He was at 0.17 expected assists per 90 last season. That's the same as Bruno Guimaraes. That's the same as Nicholas Jackson at Chelsea. And it's only 0.01, less than Anthony Gordon at Newcastle. He's a good carrier too, 61 progressive carries last season. That was only one fewer than Cody Gakpo. And he ranks in the top 8% of midfielders for carries into the penalty area, playing alongside Siddiqui or potentially Granit Xhaka if that move is completed. I back Diarra to shine. Let's just quickly finish by mentioning Granit Xhaka. I know this is a Wonder Kids episode, guys, but I'm so excited for Sunderland to sign Granit Xhaka. I still can't quite believe it. 32 years old, all that Premier League experience with Arsenal, 2 FA Cups to his name, go to the Bundesliga, a league and cup double with Bayer Leverkusen, and he's going to Sunderland, and he had other offers. He could have stayed at Bayer Leverkusen and played in the Champions League. He'd have gone to Saudi Arabia and earned millions, but no, he's chosen Reggie Lebris's tricky Black Cats. I am in absolute dreamland, and I cannot wait to watch him at the Stadium of Light next season. So guys, that's it. That was 10 Wonder Kids who will explode this season. A massive thank you to all those who have supported the channel so far. I really am humbled by it. Approaching, I think as I record this, 20,000 views on my first video, 3.3 thousand subs off one video. I really am touched by all the support, all the lovely comments. Let me know in the comments section what you'd like me to cover next week. Thank you so much for all the continued support, guys. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll catch you soon. Bye.